So far, things have been going very interestingly for Marathon. Probably not the way Bungie hoped, because the player counts are not as strong as really a lot of people expected them to be. It's gotten destroyed on the sales charts by Slay the Spire 2, and now Bungie has the audacity to ask media outlets to delay their Marathon reviews until late March. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, a lot of us do not trust the access media anymore, and this will be the true test to weed out the shills and then actually be able to highlight the journos who decide, no, we're just going to rate what they release the game with. And if any of those reviews that are now posted say Bungie asked us not to, so here are our early thoughts, they are completely cooked, because Bungie is now saying that, well, because they're going to be adding more content in a few weeks, that's when you should rate the game, which is insane. The second you release content is the second people are allowed to judge it in its entirety, and maybe you should have released the endgame content if you actually thought it was that important. When people are paying $40 for a game, you should be releasing the full game, or at least what you plan to release in the first few weeks or the first month. Okay, I get that, right? They might add new maps and DLC in 2 or 3 months. I'm not talking about that. If you think that it is so important to the experience that JoUrNoS wait to review it until the end of the month, that is what you should have released the game with. So, Bungie is asking sites to delay their marathon reviews with release date Steam player counts below 100K. This is such an insane request of them. It's such a slap in the face to the people who swipe their credit card on this. Gamers may have to form their own opinions about whether marathon was worth the wait. Although not mandatory, Bungie has asked websites to postpone reviews, leaving Metacritic blank. Naysayers say the unremarkable marathon Steam player count reflects a lack of confidence in the shooter, and I obviously agree with this. I don't think having 88K be your peak on release day on Steam is a good look at all whatsoever, but the way that this article frames it is as if people actually take these websites seriously anymore, and they don't. Nobody goes to Kotaku or Polygon or The Gamer. If they are excited for a game, they will just buy it. It says, though, buyers undecided about Bungie's new extraction shooter won't find much guidance on Metacritic, and that's partly due to the publisher's request to delay reviews until after its release date. The company has asked sites to hold their opinions until more content arrives later in March. This is why it is so important that you find a content creator online that you trust the opinions of, whether that's watching my streams or Hypnotic's game streams, or I don't know, insert your favorite Twitch streamers' streams. If you are looking for an informed opinion, do the research yourself, because nobody should just be blindly trusting a journalist who clearly wants to stay on these companies' good sides, because without the access, they are no longer the media. The only thing that sets them apart and content creators like myself apart is that I am not going to shill for a company simply because I want a free code to their game, or because I care so much about getting a few little interviews. And so they will run defense for these companies time and time again if it gets them a little bit more content. On the Reset Era forums, it emerged that a popular contributor's media outlet didn't get early access to the server. Other posters backed up the claim, mentioning that IGN's in-process evaluation wouldn't be final until the end of March. It's unclear if positive marathon reviews would have boosted the game's peak Steam player count. Still, the title is falling short of some predictions, topping 87,000 on March 5th, which is not good when you consider that Slay the Spire 2 to hit 450K. Also, this is Bungie. Sony bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. That is a hefty chunk of change. Clearly, they were hoping this game was going to do better. And yes, we don't know what the numbers overall are. It could have hit, I don't know, 600,000 all-time peak on every platform, but I highly doubt it, because if Steam is 88K, it's not like you could expect PS5 numbers to be, I don't know, 800K. Generally, they're pretty close to each other, so I don't think it did the numbers that they were hoping. Either way, though, the fact that Bungie is encouraging critics and reviewers to wait to review the game until new content comes out is insane. And this is why these companies deserve to be called out and roasted. I wonder why. Ha ha ha. High guard too. That makes sense. It gives a holistic, full review as opposed to a sparse, incomplete review. If you're saying that it would be sparse and incomplete for the journalists to review it, then why did Bungie feel it was okay to release a sparse and incomplete game? Just food for thought. Releases a game unfinished. Asks for a grace period? Nah, fuck off, Bungie. If this is like a raid in Destiny, holy shit, we have something to be prepared for, but we don't know that that's going to be the case. 2-hour Steam refund policy. Wait 2 weeks to review our game, please. Brother, talk about trying to control a narrative. That seems sus. They launched a game. It should be reviewable no matter what state it is in. If they wanted this, maybe they should have launched in early access. Yeah, pretty good idea. Would it even be realistic for most solo queue players to experience this raid content? If not, they're basically cut off from the end goal of the game. Then they should have offered refunds if the reviews don't come as positive, if they have to wait until the 2nd of March. If they're so confident about their game, they could just do that. Already on the defense, 2nd day in, it is just sad at this point. And really, it is. It is pathetic that this entire situation has happened. They know that games like Arc Raiders aren't going to be able to just die in order for those people to go play Marathon. Best Marathon could get day one was 88,337, which is a pretty bad look for Bungie. And then something like Slay the Spire 2 releases. It's number 1 on the top currently global selling Steam games list. It is beating Marathon, and sure, this game is $15 cheaper, but it has gotten a 430,000 player peak. So it just paints a very different picture. And then Bungie has the audacity to come out and say, well, we'd appreciate it if journalists won't review our game until the full game's out. Maybe you should have released the full game or the content that you had immediately planned day fucking 1. And we don't trust game journalists anymore. Nobody should at this point. But I also think that when, again, you are trying to sell people a product, you need to give them what they're paying for. So yeah, Bungie has already faced a lot of backlash surrounding this title. The pre-alpha phase went terribly, and then they started reworking the game. They had the plagiarism controversy, and then they had to rework the game. And now that it's finally out, it hasn't quite done the numbers one would expect Sony and Bungie to want. So I will be keeping a close eye on this game. But yeah, they're claiming it's not a mandate, but a request/suggestion. But any of these media outlets that actually fulfill Bungie's request should never be taken seriously by anybody again. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.